Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. It's a great honour.
My pleasure.
Hanoi Rocks have long been one of my favourite bands. I guess I was pretty young when I snuck into the Nottingham Palais many years ago. I don't know if you remember that, can you?
The Nottingham, was it the Rock City or the Palais? Or
No, it was the Palais.
Was that the club? Was that show filmed?
That was the Nottingham tapes. Yeah. That was the second time. I think the second time I saw it.
Nottingham tapes, yeah. That's funny. I remember that gig. I mean, yes, I remember that. it was some festival kind of. Like there were other bands during the day, and then we had a show at night, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was about four or five bands on. I think that day.
Cool that you were there, huh?
I was there. Yeah, I snuck into the venue. Yeah, it was the second ever show I ever saw. It was very cool.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's cool to hear. I snuck in. My first show I ever saw was Slade in Helsinki, but the second one was the Suite, and I snuck in for free because I was like 10 years old, so I was much shorter than anybody. And people rushed in the door. I just snuck in easily.
Got
to see the show.
A couple of great bands. I'm just listening to the new album at the moment, Blackout States. Personally, as someone who's loved your music for many years, I actually think it's the best thing you've ever done.
Oh, great! That's great to hear. Thanks.
It's got a really fantastic almost old school vibe at places as well. But I absolutely love the single. Did it take a long time for the album to come together?
No, not really. I mean, that was just what was it? We started working on some songs, and we decided we needed a new album. With this album, we didn't have that much of a chance to get together with the whole band and start songs from scratch. Like, as we did with the last one, we kind of got together at a rehearsal place and started, writing riffs and stuff, and throwing ideas at each other. But this time we just worked on stuff separately because everybody lives all around the world. Sammy lives in Mallorca in Spain, and Steve Conte lives in New York, and Rich lives he moved from London to Berlin now, and Carl Rockpit is in Stockholm. I'm in Finland. So we didn't have a chance to get together right from the start, but we worked on some stuff. I worked on some on my own over here, and Sammy had some ideas and stuff. And we sent stuff to each other via email. Then we just got together at our rehearsal place for a few days, and a couple of weeks before we went to the studio, and then we'll take it months before we went to the studio, and we had the stuff together. We had 18 songs that we recorded actually, which is quite a lot to me. I like to make, 15 songs we had last time, and I like albums with like 10, 12 at the most. 13 at the most. This time it worked good because as long as you feel like you want to hear the album again after it's over.
Yeah.
That was so. We went to the studio. We recorded about less than 3 weeks. We recorded the whole album.
Oh wow! I mean that came together pretty fast. I mean, I guess one of the things that most hits you about the album is how immediate it is. I mean, everything's sort of very in your face, very catchy. From the opener, "This Ain't No Love Song," which has got a sort of, for me, a real sort of Hanoi Rocks, Ramonesy type vibe, to Old King's Road, which is a fantastic first single and video, which sort of references the old days, and there's actually quite a bit in there. It looks like you're looking back on the old days with a bit of affection lyrically. Is that?
Yeah, well.
Is that something that?
Kind of part of, it's always. Yeah, well, it's kind of maybe not as nostalgically as all those things. It's always a part of me, and part of us. The things that happened, and referring to the rose tattoo, obviously the Hanoi Rocks tattoo I had with the rose on my arm, and Sid Vicious said the lock and chain necklace, with the lock and chain, changed our names at Hanoi Rocks. When we started, we had we figured nobody could pronounce our Finnish names, so we had to do stage names. And like the good ones do, well, everyone from Marilyn Monroe to Alice Cooper have gotten stage names. So, and yeah, there's references to the old days, but we're still here and still doing it. But I'd like to think I was doing it better than before. And like you said, you like this album. I think it's the best one so far, and that's really music to my ears.
Yeah, I mean,
really appreciate that.
It completely blew me away.
Kind of back to the roots.
Yeah. What
kind of back to the roots.
What do you think that Mike Monroe 2015? What advice would you give to yourself back in those days if you had the chance, knowing all that you know now?
Back in those days.
Yeah.
Well, if I know what I know now, it would be, maybe I'd. Well, I mean, it's hard to say because I did the best I could at the time with what I knew at the time. So I would, I would be actually more assertive if I could. Not let so many people take advantage of me. Sometimes things like that. You think of afterwards, but I never hurt anybody anyway. So that's the main thing. I got hurt myself, and I'm okay for that. So, but I don't know. People often ask me, do I regret anything? And I always say I don't, because there's no point. Because I did the best I could at the time, and if I'd known what I know now, of course I might have not done certain things, or but you have to learn. You live and learn, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
I'm not really longing for the old days at all. I mean, it wasn't that much fun back then. I mean, I'm actually having a better time now. I'm enjoying life more now than I have ever before.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. I mean, I guess we all love the music of our youth, and for me, Hanoi were a big part of my youth. I mean, from that first album on, I saw you guys so many times back in the day. It was such a sort of vibrant scene in the UK, and you were a breath of fresh air, I guess, musically, to a sort of scene, I guess, that was suffering a bit since punk had taken a nosedive there, and obviously all the bands that you've influenced in the meantime have come and gone.
There was
now.
not much happening.
And you guys.
Yeah, well, there's Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you guys are still there, still playing, and as I said before, as good as it was. You've got
nothing else.
You've got a huge tour plan.
But you can't think of doing anything else. I got to be doing this until I'm going to rock till I drop. Because what else am I going to do? And you just got to get better at it, and that's what keeps me hungry. There's always room for improvement, and I always try hard to doing live shows or making records. And making records, I always want to make sure that the quality and the attitude and everything. So no all killers, no fillers, like I say.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a.
What's the point of putting a song in the album if it's not strong enough?
No, you've had a fantastic run of albums. I mean, from Sensory Overdrive in 2010 and Horns and Halos, you've won a lot of critical acclaim. And this album, I think, is going to be the one that really sort of pushes it over the edge. I mean, do you feel like you're sort of at a peak creatively these days?
Well, I'd like to think I think with this band especially, we have great chemistry, and we really have a good time together. And you can always tell on the record if someone's had fun making it. It always comes through and it shows. And with this band, there's a lot of creative energy, and with the best of friends, we have a great time. So I think that's part of the thing. It keeps me excited, and it keeps us. This is really a strong unit, and the chemistry is there, and there's nobody in the band that makes anybody feel like uncomfortable or anything. And great players with the right attitude, and so I feel I've never gotten the kind of recognition and feedback that and the acclaim, like I said, that I've gotten in the past few years, and it's just, of course, it's great. I never expected anything too much. I figured I'm going to do my thing stubbornly, no matter what. lot, but it really feels good and warms my heart. Nice to hear. For example, you saying that this is the best thing I've done is really nice to hear.
Oh, I mean,
it feels good.
I mean, for someone as well who's sort of been a fan and sort of listened to everything you've put out there, I mean, it really hit me this time that the quality of the work. I was thinking, the first few times I played it, I was thinking, how on earth can you pick what you're actually going to play live? Because the songs were consistently that good.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's a good problem. It should be a good problem. But we've actually gonna have to. We're probably gonna write a couple of different set lists. For Europe and depending on which country we're playing. Like we've played in Finland quite a lot, so we're gonna probably play most of the new album live, and we'll go to England, Germany. We haven't played that much, then those guys will want to hear some stuff that depending on which country we're playing, we have. Well, at least we got a lot of choices, and it's only good. It's a win-win situation. So if you have too many good songs to choose from, it's better than not having enough.
That's exactly right. And you've actually got a big tour, as you said there. You're going to the UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Switzerland, as well as back home to Finland as well. And hopefully some Japanese dates as well that we'll be able to get out to. You never. Are there any places of the world that you'd always wanted to play that you've never actually managed to get to?
Well, Australia for one. I've never been to Australia. I always wanted to, and New Zealand is another one. But Australia especially because I'm a huge Bon Scott fan, and AC/DC, of course. Bon Scott era of AC/DC was one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It'd be great to visit there someday.
It'd be great.
I never had a chance to do it.
It'd be fantastic to get you down. Fantastic to get you down. It would be. We'll have to see what we can do. I mean, Bon Scott was born just down the road from where we're based in Fremantle. Well, not born there, but grew up in Fremantle.
Wow.
Which is just down the road from us. So
wow.
That would be pretty cool.
Right by where you live.
Yeah. So talking of
really cool.
Talking of
he was a hero.
Yeah, he was one of a kind. I think not too many made in that mould. Talking of influences,
no, exactly. Go ahead.
And taking it all the way back for you, what was it that sort of got you up first of all, and made you know that music was going to be your life? Was there a defining moment or something you heard?
I came from a musical family, and to begin with, I had my grandfather. Grandfather was a professional classical musician. He played the cello, and his father, my great grandfather, was an oboe player, also in a symphony orchestra, and was actually friends with or acquaintances with Jean Sibelius, the great composer, the Finnish composer. Yeah. So, and my mother is also very musical, but she. Not by profession, she worked at the radio in Finland, and so did my father. My father was a very well-known radio announcer, the radio voice in Finland. When I was a kid, there was only like 3 channels. Channel 1, Channel 2, and the Swedish channel, and on the radio. And the TV, only a couple of channels, 2 channels too, it's like in black and white. And, my mother made me take piano lessons when I was about 5, and then they showed on TV, we had black and white TV still, and they had I'd seen some rock and roll documentary where I saw Little Richard that really, really, fascinated me. I thought, wow, what a wild, crazy guy. And then finally the Black Sabbath concert, Black Sabbath live in Paris in 1970. That was aired on TV in Finland. They showed that on TV, and I was like, wow. What the hell is this? And I was like, wow, look at a crazy guy with the long hair going nuts on stage. And he was like, yeah, I could do that. And, the music was powerful, and it was like really something I'd never heard before. And I thought, wow, I could either be a singer or then a radio voice like my father, which I never really considered letter, S as in Sam, a bit sharper. And so I said, okay, I'll be a rock singer then, because I'm going to sing in English anyway. So, but really, that was that. Believe it or not, it was actually Ozzy Osbourne who started me off. And that's when I decided I wanted to be a rock singer. And the Alice Cooper band, Love It to Death album. My dad would buy albums. He bought like the first rock album we got in the family was the second Led Zeppelin album. Yeah. And then he bought my first album was Fireball, Deep Purple Fireball. Wow. And then he bought Love It to Death to my two older brothers, and one of them got Love It to Death, Alice Cooper. And I was like, that was it. The band was so cool, and I thought that was the coolest band ever. And Alice was a great, great inspiration, because he seemed like he was a threat to society. It was dangerous, kind of like a punk thing, He was the kind of guy that the parents wouldn't want you to go and see because it was too wild and too dangerous. So he was a really big influence on me. And then, of course, I got more into like Little Richard. Little Richard records were when I bought a saxophone, and I decided I wanted to play the sax, and so I started learning to Little Richard records and the coasters and stuff like that. That 50s kind of rock and roll sound, and the songs, of course, and AC/DC. When I discovered, first AC/DC album was out in Europe. I think it was High Voltage anyway. Was the first known in Europe. I don't know. I think they came out with some other album. The first album in Australia might have been something different, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Different version on it.
Marriage, I think. Yeah.
Right. So High Voltage was, it's a long way to the top, and that song Rock and Roll Singer and the song High Voltage, what the lyrics are saying, it's like that's what about being a rocker. To me, Mom Scott, he had his tattoos, and that to me, that was also what inspired me to get tattoos. Rockers have some tattoos. Nobody had tattoos back then except for Stray Cats.
That's exactly right.
Scott
yeah.
And right. So then, but nowadays everybody's got them. There's so many. If I'd known how many people are covered in tattoos these days, I probably wouldn't have gotten any myself. But to me, it was part of being a rocker, and of course an outcast for outside the society, and being an individual. That's that was a shame that they had all these categories, and all of a sudden there's something called heavy metal, and then there's even though the punk thing was originally, it was like a movement, but you could in a fashion like everything does, and categorizing music, I think, kills creativity. Putting blockers. So to me, something like grunge, for example, Nirvana, great band, comes out of nowhere, and becomes huge, but then there's 200,000 other bands trying to sound like them and not being as good as, of course, like poor man's version or the B version of that band. And record companies, of course, encourage that because they want to sell. They want to put everything in nice packages. And, this is the latest thing, grunge. Check it out. As soon as something has a name, it's over in my books.
Yeah.
I think it should be, Hanoi Rocks, we were a rock band, but you couldn't really. We defied all categories actually because we played anything from punk to calypso, which is one of the best things about it. And very spontaneous, and never really planned anything. Like I still don't really, but it was just throwing ourselves into it, and not really. Don't look before you leap, and don't look back too much. And what else fail?
No, I think you're.
Person into concrete.
I think you're exactly right with Hanoi Rocks. I mean, the thing for me about the band was always the fact that you would do anything, everything from I can't remember what the flexi disc Do the Duck or whatever it was to the calypso version of Malibu Beach. It was just as if everything was up for grabs, and I think that's what a lot of bands that followed. They sort of copied his style, but they never really got the music.
Most of them really missed the point, and especially the ones on the West Coast in America, were like that hair metal thing. It was like embarrassing. I mean, they played their hairspray cans better than the instruments. And to me, it was all about music and the punky attitude that was missing there, of course, as well. And so that playing the music and the songs were more important to us. That was the most, I wouldn't have the nerve, the goal to stand on stage if I didn't know how to sing or if I didn't know how to play or, just posing and partying and being, thinking that, oh, we're so wild and wacky and cool and sex and drugs and rock and roll and all that cliche. And I was like, I'm going to put me to sleep. And then I always say when people said, oh, Mike, you started this glam resurgence or whatever, resurgence in the West Coast. And I always say, don't blame me for that shit. Everybody always thought they had to have big hair, big blonde hairdo and eyeliner, even if they were 300-pound truck drivers. They were like trying to look like that kind of the Michael Monroe, so-called Michael Monroe look. And I mean, I didn't even myself. My hair was really boring and straight, and I always loved, Alice Cooper band's drummer. Neil Smith, he had the coolest hair, down at his waist, and it was kind of nice and wavy. So I always wanted to have a wavy hair like that, so it's kind of back home with me. Then sometime when it was kind of long, and I didn't cut it for a long time, it became really big, which I really didn't like that much, but it kind of looked like Johnny Thunders in the cover of the first New York Dolls album.
Yeah.
It was kind of big like that, but I never meant to have a big hair. And then everyone's telling me, oh, yeah, you started this fashion. God damn, please.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing about Hanoi and the way we dressed. It was like never leather and studs and, it was more like really, really cool style. I think everybody had a real individual style, and I don't think anybody ever really came close to that, the kind of style that Hanoi had.
Definitely.
Yeah,
not.
I agree.
I mean, it's a wonderful time, and it's great to hear you playing so well on here. Are there any particular favourites you've got from the new album? I mean, I'm just listening to it, lapping it all up. I mean, everything from the wonderful the ballad under the Northern Lights.
Sorry to interrupt, but 5 more minutes about.
Oh, great, that's cool.
Okay, 5 more minutes. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, my favorites. I King's Road I like, and Love Song's good. I like Going Down with the Ship is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think that should be the second single. Keep Your Eye on You is one of my favorites because I'm expanding vocally. I'm doing something. I'm singing in places in a way that I've never sung before, and I always try to go for something new. So that's one of my favorites.
That one was really cool.
I could just. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say, keep Your Eye on You was that sort of real sort of slow and melodic one. You're right, where you do sort of push your voice on that one. It was a beautiful song. Loved it.
Yeah, right. I think thanks, and that one was one of the most important tracks to me in the studio too. I really concentrated hard on that and singing and everything. Blackout States, I love that one, and Dead Hearts on Denmark Street, I like a lot.
Yeah.
And Under the Northern Lights.
Cool.
And Rock Like Clock, RLS, that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I
wrote that with Sammy.
Just listening to that one before we got you on the phone there. That's a very cool song. I've just got a couple of quick questions then.